Hello and welcome to the Tech in the Hood podcast. I'm your host, Ahmed Flex Omar. Tech in the Hood is a storytelling podcast that explores the past, present, and future of Chicago's cultural identity through conversations about community and technology. Each week, I reconnect with the friends and mentors who have shared this journey and spotlight new voices and innovators building the future of the Tech in the Hood. Welcome back to Tech in the Hood, the show that brings you all things art, business, culture, and technology. Today with me in the studio is my dear friend, Matthew Moore. Matthew is the founder of Artist Replete. Matthew, welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, man. I'm glad we made it happen.
Yeah, I feel like we've known each other for so long now. What do you think it's like 12 years?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I met you in a previous field and kind of in a gray area in my life, in the nightlife.
Yeah, a lot of...
Looking back at that, what do you feel like that part of your life? How do you feel about that?
Oh, man, but I'm here to interview you, but I guess I'll...
I know, I just want to know about all of this like, before we get started, you know?
That's all, it's all good. I mean, we met through the hospitality industry, and I've always, enjoyed working in that industry and doing consulting work. And but I've also done tech on the side.
Yeah.
And I've always been in technology, but a lot of people had no idea.
Cool.
Just kept it to myself.
Yeah.
And so the hospitality part was sort of like my creative outlet, because tech is technical, right?
Right.
So a little play on words.
Yeah.
But I started my first company, or the first company that I was a part of, that was a startup, was when I was 19.
Wow, so I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I feel like I know a lot about you, but I did not know that.
Yeah. So, and that's the great thing about the podcast. It allows me to humble brag.
Yeah, for sure.
So that company is still around till today. It's called Netelligence.
Wow, cool.
And the founder, Bashir Muhammad, I was his first, employee.
Yeah.
And still around till today. He was, I think, my second guest. Season 1 of the podcast.
Yeah.
And what happened was when I was running Mala, NGO, as you recall, I did an event with Facebook, and it was focused on diasporas and.
What was the time period on this? Like Facebook in its earlier days?
No. This is let me tell you, this was during COVID.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so it was a webinar.
Yeah.
And we did that. A young lady reached out to me via LinkedIn. And she said, "Oh, this is great," because the theme was, Muslims in Hollywood, for Black Muslims in Hollywood for Black History Month. And it's a funny story, actually. I haven't told it on the podcast yet. So randomly, I was watching Cobra Kai.
Okay.
And
the Netflix series?
And then there's a Netflix series, but before that, it was on YouTube.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Right. So I was watching it, and in the producers, a name popped up, and the name of the someone was Amadou. I was like, oh, that's a very Muslim name.
Yeah.
So I'm always scouting Muslim talent for storytelling.
Yeah.
And so I just looked him up on LinkedIn and added him, and just literally just
what's up, Mamadou?
Call. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, can we talk? And I gave him a pitch, and he said, sure. So I had a meeting with him, and then went to Facebook and said, hey, would you guys love to have him as part of the series? And they're like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then so the young lady reached out to me. She said she's worked with Amadou in the past, and she was at the time working at HBO. She said, I've been working with him for a while. I didn't know he was Muslim. I really like what you're doing.
Got it.
So have you thought about doing a documentary, about your story, blah, blah, blah. Once we started talking some more.
Yeah.
And I said, me? Documentary? No, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And then so I went and had lunch with my old friend, Bashir. He caught up. He's like, yeah, the company's still doing good. And NTG, as we call it, is, 20 years now. And I was one of the first Black-owned managed service provider companies.
Wow.
And so that being said, I was like, hey, you want to do a documentary? And he was like, sure. I don't know what all that entails, but sure. So what happened was I randomly was thinking of just like names.
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, Boys in the Hood. I mean, we were just two boys at the time.
Yeah.
Just start. So then I'm like, let me just look up the domain, Tech in the Hood.
Yeah.
And it was there.
Perfect.
So that's a sign from God.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah. So I held on to the domain for a few years, just did a landing page, the logo, did the branding, work and so on.
So this has been around before this, like before the podcast. This has already existed in the air. Like it's been there.
Absolutely.
Got it.
And then so when I started my new tech company, FlexTech AI, I was like, I think it's time now to launch the podcast, and because a lot of, like you said, a lot of people have no idea that I've been in tech, so it was cool to just bring people that have been on that other side, and also people that have known me for a while, and just have conversations. But I don't want to just do like a regular tech podcast where we talk about software development.
Yeah.
It's very
gotta make it spicy.
Yeah,
interesting.
And layman.
Yeah,
right?
layman. Yeah.
Yeah. So that being said, that's the genesis story of
that's why we're here.
Tech in the Hood. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
I've had a number of artists have played a big role in really scaling this podcast, and some some you've worked with.
Yeah, for sure.
Of course, Jenny Vias and Roger and so on. So I've had them on the podcast. But again,
some of the earlier Artist Replete members.
Yeah, there you go. So Artist Replete.
Yeah.
Tell us about I mean, the name itself is very unique. So
yeah. I just never liked the term starving artist. That's like when you're in a room of people and someone says, "Oh, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer," and someone says, "I'm an artist." There could kind of be this feeling like, well, what sort of artist? What could this be? Are they a starving artist? What does this mean? And the term starving artist is so well known, and I just really didn't like that. So I just looked up a term that's the opposite of starving, which was replete, and it being kind of an unusual word that's not really said quite often. The domain was right there, Artist Replete, So that's what it kind of, that's where the name kind of started from there. And I really didn't have an identity for it. I knew that I wanted to help artists. I knew that I wanted to sell artwork, but it's something that kind of morphed over time. It was gradual. It was a hobby on the side. It started as an Instagram page, as you know, and then I just posted artists that I like, some artists that I represented, and some artists that I just thought were great. And it was really kind of a gradual thing, year by year.
What year was this?
I made the Instagram page in 2015.
Okay.
So yeah. And honestly, I had really no idea what I was doing probably the first 3 years. I just knew that it felt good to...
Do you have a background in art?
No, not at all. My background was kind of, as you know, in sales,
Sure.
with the hospitality and dealing with high-ticket sales.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of transferred that into high-ticket sales of art over time. I had clientele that were spending money, on expensive champagne and things like that. And I transferred them into, tangible items of art. So I didn't know the direction, know how I wanted to go. And it was a learning experience. And it still is today.
Did you have any mentors when you were
YouTube University, it was a big part. I just YouTubed a ton of things, taught myself Photoshop in and out, through that way. Read a lot. The art industry, particularly the gallery industry, is really closed off. It's very private. So there's not a lot of information out there how to become a good art dealer or any of that. It's all private, which actually made me more fascinated about it, which is what inspired in 2020.
And it was an interesting time when you started, right? Because graffiti, art has been around, for a while.
Yeah, it's been around.
It started
hundreds of years.
Becoming a mainstream thing.
Yeah. What I noticed is I'm a really data-driven person.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had the first idea of it, I was like, how does an art gallery operate? I looked up that, And then I was like, how's art sales online doing? Like, are people selling artwork online? And that was trending. That was going up year after year. The amount of artwork purchased online was going up year after year. And I thought that was like a fascinating note. So I thought to myself, like, what happens if I focus this online at first? And the gallery industry is really a brick and mortar industry, art gallery. And I noticed that a lot of the top galleries within Chicago, they really weren't focusing too much on their website. It was more about the space. So I was like, what happens if I do this in reverse? What happens if
So this is a tech show, so we gotta
yeah.
big up the
Yeah. So I was like,
digital
exactly,
first business.
exactly. So
Okay.
it's tremendously risky, no matter
Yeah.
what business that you do, to dive in brick and mortar before you don't have an understanding of what your income is going to be like,
Sure.
what you can do sales wise. I think most anyone to trying to do a business, they should put it online first. If you're selling products, you should definitely put it online first. You should understand how to generate traffic. You should understand how to create clientele. You should understand SEO, at least like the intro stages of SEO before you even think about brick and mortar. Now, this is backwards thinking compared to like how a lot of people think, especially in the art gallery industry, because the gallery industry itself was it was created like years and years before the end, like hundreds of years before the internet. But life has changed since the internet. The top companies are like in Amazon and these businesses, they're selling products online. So I just thought to myself, let's get with the times here. Let's put things online. Let's make the online experience good before I even think about a physical location.
Right.
So let's try and play this smart. Because when I was doing this, I really didn't have a lot of money. I just had ideas and devotion. That was kind of the intro to it.
For sure. And now you have a brick and mortar space.
Yeah. In 2022, we moved into the Water Tower place right off of Michigan Ave on floor 2.
Hey, that's
So
fancy, man.
yeah.
And I went to Loyola down the street.
Yeah.
That's a special spot for me.
For me, I noticed my competitors were kind of in different neighborhoods, and I really wanted to, when I opened the first brick and mortar location, I wanted to be impactful. I wanted to be like the location be strong. I wanted to I wanted to rely, if I'm going to do that and I have like online traffic,
Right.
the added foot traffic needs to be substantial. So that was the move.
Smart. Yeah.
So yeah, well, I
You picked
negotiated.
the Gold Coast.
Yeah, I negotiated terms. The negotiations went on for months to get in there,
Sure, yeah.
and then I introed an investor into the business, someone who had kind of studied the business for years, just as like a friend who went to shows, who saw sales, was really careful, someone who had strengths that were my weaknesses, which was like really important, numbers,
Right.
a lot of different things, and that became the first kind of like official partner for the business that made the brick and mortar a reality.
Say his name.
Eric Bilas
Eric.
is my business
He's a
partner.
good guy.
He's great. He's great with numbers. He's a devoted guy, and he's my number 2. And with the physical location downtown, wouldn't have been possible without them. Downtown is an expensive area for real estate. It's expensive
Gold,
area to
Gold Coast too.
yeah, it's expensive area to rent. And even post pandemic, Michigan Ave got hit,
Right.
but then as things trended back, rates went up. So yeah. But the opportunity there began like because of the pandemic, because the Michigan Ave got raided, a lot of businesses and things got destroyed.
Yeah.
So during the rehabilitation process, I was able to do a pop up there in the
Right.
Water Tower. That pop up started the relationship with them, and kind of grew from there. But the pandemic is a topic I want to talk about,
Yeah.
because anyone in e-commerce knows that the pandemic was like it was gangbusters for us. I was at all-time high on online sales, and my website really wasn't that great, but it was just at that time, in my personal opinion, but it was doing really well because people were indoors shopping for stuff at home.
But there's a reason for that too. You enjoy writing, and
I didn't at first. I
okay.
realized that this was necessary. I realized I didn't have the capital to consistently run ads.
Right.
So and once I learned that if you want to drive automatic traffic,
Sure.
it has to be through SEO, and
Yeah.
a big part of SEO is writing, particularly blog writing.
Yeah. Organic content.
Exactly. And you really have to do like a soft sell on it. Like it needs to be very informational. There
Yeah.
can be some small selling points in there, but the information needs to be like at the forefront.
You know Gary Vee, right? Gary
Of
Vee.
course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
read multiple books of
yeah,
his.
his
Yeah.
book, Jab, Jab, Jab,
Yeah, yeah,
right,
100%.
right hook.
Exactly. And that's kind of what where the articles come into play. You're just doing a lot of jabs on information,
Yeah.
and you can end with a right hook. Here's a link if you want to learn more about this, you know?
Sure.
That's just kind of it. So I did dozens and dozens of articles, like to drive the SEO and to build the business. So it just receives automatic traffic, month after month. And now I think we get, without even posting anything, I think we're at like 120,000 hits per year. That's if I don't post anything ever, like
Yeah.
at all for the entire year. So we'll get that automatically through SEO.
For
No,
sure.
no ads.
Oh,
So
the algorithm loves that type of, content because it also resonates, with people,
yeah,
it's authentic. Um, so that's cool. And we can dive into the pandemic a little bit, later. But where you are right now,
yeah.
and having a brick and mortar, business,
Yeah, I mean,
is
it changed who I had to be. Like before, I was just in my place shipping out artwork from
mhm,
my apartment on a laptop. It was just me. Now there's employees involved. There's an investor involved. There is a downtown location involved. Like it went from minimal overhead of just affording my place to
mhm,
affording my place in an expensive place and a staff. So I had to change everything about how I was operating and myself mentally to be able to even handle that, you know?
mhm.
So yeah, I had to make a big sacrifice that I made, which I'm actually still happy about, is in June 18th of this year, 2024. That'll be like the 3-year mark since I've had a sip of alcohol. I just felt that I could not even drink at all
Mhm.
recreationally or anything to maintain this business. I had to just be sharp, week after week, like year after year. So that was one, and double downing on exercise and double downing on reading, and just realizing that year one of that brick and mortar, like I already knew this is going to be painful, and I just need to get through this, and then just survive to year two, and now we're on year two, and we're great. We're in profit, and we're excited for the future, like just to see that it's possible. So yeah.
So how has your collectors changed, right? Because before, I mean, you're digital first. You're getting clients, online. You have certain client
Yeah,
relationships, but now you're, brick and mortar. There's.
I think people feel a lot more comfortable spending
Mhm,
a lot more money with us. When you don't really have like a location where you can kind of see someone face to face,
mhm,
you see a room or anything like that. You're kind of basing things off of online reviews and kind of the quality of content online and social media. But when we had a physical location where someone who was visiting in town, maybe a big collector, could stop and meet me face to face, and I could talk to them and, pour them a cup of coffee, show them the area, and it just opened up the door of how much money could be spent on the business comfortably. Like it was really like spending anything over $10,000 for a single item on our website just felt like a tough sell.
right.
Now it's a much easier sell, like having that brick and mortar location, just because it kind of it's like a stamp of
Yeah.
approval, or like that these people they've generated enough income to make this like a tangible business that you can see.
No, for sure. I mean, brick and mortar is interesting, right?
Yeah,
So people tend to, jump on the bandwagon when it comes to like e-commerce, and then
yeah,
you see a lot of businesses, that start digital first.
yeah,
They go, okay, well, now we need a presence.
right,
And Apple is a big example,
yeah,
of that, and for a tech company to
yeah,
have like so many brick and mortar,
yeah,
stores.
yeah,
Some of those places are architectural monuments,
yeah,
so
for sure,
it's a statement, but it also comes down to with like that community, building and community, connection.
Yeah, I had done like a lot of pop-up shows prior to the brick and mortar space, so we already kind of had a fan base built. And then once we opened the brick and mortar, like it was like kind of a place where people could go more on a regular basis. I like as you know, I did like a lot of different pop-up shows. I collaborated with
Well, we
yeah,
collaborated
yeah,
on
yeah.
your first, your
Oh,
launch.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You were, yeah. Just for anyone out there who wants to like a little bit of motivation. My first show, I rented a shoe store. For $500 for the night, I rented a shoe store to do an art exhibition, and the shoes were still up. It wasn't. I didn't. Many of the shoes were just still there. I just put artwork in between it. That was like one of my first exhibitions. And looking back at that, I really had no idea where the company was going to go. I didn't think I was going to open up a location off Michigan Ave. I couldn't have dreamt of that. I just was just trying to like survive at that moment.
Mhm.
But I just kept on. My obsession never stopped with this business, so I kept going and going. And yeah, yeah, you were there at that one. That was Giving Tuesday,
Yeah.
which I didn't even know anything about Giving Tuesday. You taught me what Giving Tuesday, about Giving Tuesday.
No,
So
absolutely. Yeah, when I was running my NGO, I also was, thinking about creative ways, to fundraise, and one of the things that we were always proud of is our individual contributions,
yeah,
and we started as a digital first, organization, 2015, just like you, so crowdfunding
yeah,
is a big deal. So I always looked for opportunities to do those pop up, type of events, and
yeah,
art's an easy sell, and so yeah, it was just natural, collaborating, with you. Plus, also your mission, in terms of supporting, artists.
yeah,
We're an arts and cultural organization,
for
so it
sure.
just worked. It just worked, and there was synergy,
Yeah,
there. And I, reached out to my friends, and and I said, hey, you gotta come support, Matthew, and check out, his stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, and I appreciate it. This is probably an interesting interview for you because you've witnessed this business grow from its infancy, like to where it's at now. Like I think other people you know about them, but you haven't witnessed physically this person taking action year after year. And with me, this must be interesting because you literally have seen it since this was just an idea.
Yeah, I feel like I'm an honorary advisory board member.
Yeah,
So,
100%, 100%. Yeah,
something like that. No, but it's been truly wonderful to see the whole journey, and sort of even meet the initial artists I made.
yeah.
Just great, human beings. Like meeting Widge,
Oh yeah, it was one of my first
what
artists.
an
Yeah,
incredible
yeah, yeah, yeah.
talent, and
Yeah.
just a great,
Yeah.
human being.
Yeah, that widget, that whole thing is interesting because one of my first artists was not even like from Chicago. He just happened to be in Chicago at the time I was building
Yeah,
the business, and then so my first like couple people, it wasn't even location driven. It was more like who I could speak with online,
sure.
like via Instagram and stuff. So he's like based out of Phoenix, and that was one of my first artists. The others were Chicago based artists, but like the like picking kind of my first like group of artists to represent, it was all like looking digitally.
No,
So I wasn't going to other galleries or other art shows to pick talent. I was looking at people who I thought were talented, like online, and.
you're like a talent scout.
Yeah, you almost look at it like you're like finding members of the draft.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
like who you want to take. Who do you think is going to be a star player? Like
Sure.
years from now. So and I look at art as a potential investment. Art can be more of like almost feel like a guaranteed investment when you're spending tons of money in the blue chip level, but
Yeah.
in the emerging to the emer
Even the blue chip ones, they started as emerging artists,
yeah,
right?
yeah, of course, yeah.
Everybody
So
starts, from somewhere, and
yeah,
so if you support, artists early on,
you're right.
and then when they make it, big, and also there's a opportunity for collectors to help artists
Yeah.
get to where they need.
I like to view collectors who spend their money on emerging artists as like it's like a group of first round investors,
Yeah,
or like
yeah, yeah, yeah. Angel investors.
yeah, angel investors, they're literally the ones like helping the market move,
Sure.
because this is how it works. It's like an artist, the first few pieces, they'll just like take their paint supply costs like times 3, times 4, And then from there, they're like, okay, I can sell at this level. Now I'm gonna sell a little higher. And then if people can consistently buy, now you have a market, and now you potentially have an investment, and now things can gradually move, and that all was just so exciting and so interesting to me.
Hmm.
And I just really was fascinated by the world of art because it's really the wild, wild west. Like
Yeah.
there aren't this like set of rules. Like if you go into some other industry, like there's rules, there's regulations, there's things you have to follow. This can be good and bad, but with
Hmm.
the art, there was just this open playing field that I saw, and I was like, there's so many opportunities here.
White canvas, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for
So we're
sure.
not gonna gloss over this because you also wrote a book.
Yeah, yeah,
You're an
it's
author. Don't let's
okay.
humble brag, humble brag.
Okay.
Tell us
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. So in the pandemic, there was some downtime. I mean, I was fairly busy because e-commerce was doing well, but I just had this need to kind of help the art world out like a little bit more than what I was doing. I just realized I can only sell so much art individually. I can only represent so many artists. My grasp on the art community is small on the scale of artists that want to go far in their career. So I made a book that, it might have not been the smartest business move, meaning that merely made a book to tell artists to go sell their work without people like me. Go sell work. You don't need a gallery. You don't need someone like me. You can just represent yourself. You can get your friends involved to be like, managers. These are the steps to do it. And the book was called From Bricks to Clicks, So, and it's just the whole, the notion, of yeah, and that's like a well-known term, and that's
Hmm.
just from like the idea of seeing something in the physical world and purchasing it in the digital space. And then yeah, that whole book was just like if an artist hit me up and was just like, hey, you want to sell, my work, and I was just too busy or I had too much going on. I said, I can't, but here's like some instructions that might help you sell your own work a little bit better, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it came from. So I just wrote a book based on that. It's not a long book; it's a digital book.
Where can people find it?
You can get it on our website, artistreplete.com, and I made it 99 cents because it was never about the money to make money off this book. It was about just artists getting information so they can sell their own work. They don't need to go through gatekeepers to do it. They can
Hmm.
self-represent. Because I think a lot of artists, believe it or not, they are good salespeople. Some aren't, but I don't think you need a representative until you're selling in the range of like 3 to 5K per piece. And then you really want to scale your business. That's when you need a representative. If you're doing below that, you can self-represent. You can tell your friend who,
Especially today when you can sell on Instagram.
yeah.
Literally create a storefront.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Instagram and Facebook and all these
Hmm.
things. And some artists are even good at TikTok. I don't really spend a ton of time on TikTok, but some artists have found success there. So like there is so much a bigger playing field digitally than there was, years ago, and people should just take advantage of that as much as they can. This is just like a sweat equity investment in yourself.
Hmm.
That's just what it is.
So
So
since we're on the topic of pandemic days,
yeah.
let's talk about NFTs.
Yeah. I tried to get into those, but it just never clicked with me. Clucked. It just never clicked.
So for folks who are not familiar with NFTs are non-fungible
Token.
tokens. They're
Yeah,
built on blockchain
yeah,
technology, and during the pandemic, digital work was being
yeah.
sold as NFTs, and mixed reviews. And I'm want to hear your take.
Yeah. So I think earlier in this interview, I mentioned I'm really like data driven,
Hmm.
and the biggest red flag for me was there was NFTs going for lots of money, and there was a market being created for these things, and there was like clubs for NFTs, and it was moving very fast. But for me, I'm more careful with everything that I do. I said, where's the data that shows years from now these things are going to be a good investment? And there was no data because these things were brand
You
new.
mean you didn't buy a Bored Ape?
No, I didn't. I was I was just too cautious. I said this. I the biggest red flag to me was all these people came out of the woodwork who were not into art at all. They were into money, and then they were really interested in NFTs. Suddenly my friend who's like, who trades stocks, who does not care about art at all, would hit me up and just be like, hey, do you have any NFTs for sale? That's good. I mean, it's good because it's like, oh, there could be business there, but it's also bad because I'm like, why do these people who do not care about art, like, why are they suddenly interested about art? So I think it's a really interesting thing from the digital space and what they're able to do, tied into cryptocurrency. I think they had like NFT parties, and I'm not here to knock them, but for me, like there wasn't enough data to back it up for me to get behind it. Now I attempted to put an NFT or two out there, it didn't sell, and I just looking at the process, you got to pay like gas fees to like to even post a work. Like there was just like a lot of things that were very questionable to me. Now, shout out to anyone who made money in that space, bought stuff, sold stuff. That's great, but
Yeah, we're not gonna knock
yeah,
anyone's
yeah,
hustle,
yeah,
especially on this show.
yeah, no, for sure.
However, I always advise people, if they're new to art or if they're interested in art, purchase something that you like.
Yeah, 100%.
And for me, when people were asking me why I haven't bought a Bored Ape, I just thought those monkeys look ugly.
Yeah.
Like, no.
It was interesting for a while. All these celebrities had a Bored Ape as
Hey,
their
remember,
profile
what was
picture.
his name? Justin Bieber?
Yeah, everyone had like an NFT as their profile picture on Instagram, and I never really jumped on that wave.
I don't see that these days.
No, everyone changed that. I just again, there was not enough data, and I was like, this could be a fad.
Yeah, I'm not gonna name who it is, but I was having dinner with someone
Yeah.
who purchased a ton of those NFTs,
Yeah.
and I said, we could really do a documentary and do a digital gallery, for you, and just call it the Wall of Shame.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was like, I don't know if I should be insulted or is that a great business idea?
Yeah.
I'm like, think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't hear too much about NFTs now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the way that I used to. Now I think there's still some NFT galleries. And
Yeah.
I think at Art Basel still people are still pushing them.
Yeah.
But again, it's just
So I'm a tech guy. The underlying technology,
Yeah.
blockchain is solid,
right.
and it's the future of the internet, the new internet that's being introduced with all the AI stuff, and
Yeah.
we're not gonna get into quantum computing and all of that.
Some computing.
Yeah, but that being said, NFTs are gonna play, a role, and but I just feel like certain players came into the market and just ruined it. For
Felt like a pump and dump in some areas.
Absolutely. There was a lot of that, but it's not just the NFTs, right?
Right.
Not,
This is just human behavior, regardless.
human behavior, and you got FTX.
Yeah.
That dude
I don't even know what that is. What's
Oh.
FTX?
Look him up.
Okay.
Dude went to jail. And he
Holy
had a
moly.
crypto
Crypto
company.
bandit.
Got all the celebrities and all these people to sign up. But yeah, I'm not. I wasn't that excited about it because I'm very similar, to you. I'm
Yeah.
a bit more cautious, about these things. But that being said, digital art, still gonna play
Oh yeah.
a role. So
Oh, for
what I'm
sure.
curious about is pivoting a little bit to today.
Of course.
It's funny we say the pandemic years as if it was like 2 decades ago.
It's like
but
this was like 4 years
it
ago.
felt like 2 decades.
Yeah.
But AI, right?
Right.
So now we're at
Huge
this
topic now.
age
Yeah.
of AI. Like, are you seeing like people create AI artwork and then show up and say, "Hey, I'm an AI artist, and can you sell this?" Or
I haven't experienced it at my gallery, but I have friends who are artists, and they I don't know what the name of the systems are, but they will literally just for fun create like something, an image, create a world, create like a scene
Yeah.
out of just typing, typing really like long tail keywords that,
Right.
that just create something. And I think that's really cool. But the foundation of that is taking bits and pieces from millions of existing artists. So that to me seems kind of questionable, you know? I don't know how I feel about that. Again, this goes back to the data thing where I think it's still fairly new. I think there's a ton of benefits for AI in many different fields, you know, that are going to help the world for
Sure.
sure. But the artwork aspect of it does have the ability to take a lot of jobs from a lot of artists potentially, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's and I've been very vocal about AI and technology just being a net job, a creator.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do agree that, certain jobs are going to be automated
Yeah.
because of AI, but new jobs are going to be created. And so even when you look at like storyboarding,
Yeah.
and that's something that you can, use AI.
Yeah.
There's so many ways that you can utilize, an AI
Yeah.
to simplify, your workflow.
For
So
sure.
even with an artist, doing research
Yeah.
on a piece,
Yeah.
AI can be a really incredible,
I
tool.
think one of the greatest aspects of it is you can visually display an idea you have. Now that idea doesn't need to be a transactional idea.
It's a living, breathing.
But here's
Yeah.
here's what I was thinking, you know? Like that could be almost like you said, a storyboard.
Yeah.
That could be like your mock-up, and then you can build it from there in the physical realm if you choose
Yeah.
to, you know?
Yeah, we're moving away from the age of PowerPoints.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I mean,
No. Yeah.
PowerPoint still has a play, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's so and it's fascinating, the investments that are being made, right now.
The money too. These guys they make AI companies, and boom, they're like worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And I'm just still trying to understand AI, you know.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, these guys are just they're making. I just created an AI company. It got sold for 300 million. I'm just like, what? Like AI is just moving so fast. You know?
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. So you mentioned, earlier about, mental health.
Oh yeah.
We like to talk about this on
Oh for sure. This
the
is like
show.
yeah.
And I was telling a friend of mine who is a regular on the podcast. Her name is Martina.
Cool.
Starting to do yoga.
Yeah.
And so on. So
Yeah.
and you've mentioned, briefly about how you had to like recenter, yourself, especially now you're running a brick and mortar.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Business. So I'm just wondering, like, what advice do you have for other entrepreneurs?
Yeah, well, I think being an entrepreneur itself is to sign up for something incredibly challenging, incredibly taxing on your mind, your body, your emotions. So, in order to survive and to scale at this realm, you need to have a foundation set up that's going to protect yourself from going down emotionally, so going down physically, where you're like, losing or gaining weight in a negative way. And you need to just kind of have this foundation be healthy. And for me, there's like a lot of key things I do. I run personally. So whenever I'm stressed out, you're not going to see me go to drink, go to the bar. I'm going to go for a jog. I'm going to increase my stamina. And then usually when I'm getting done with like a jog, whether it be 2 miles, 5 miles, 7 miles, I usually can breathe, like clearer. I'm just like, I'm a little bit more relaxed. I'm going to get through this. Everything's going to be fine. And then that will increase my stamina so I can handle more work. So things like that, you need to reinforce what works for you to create that mental stability. Because yeah, I'll be honest, when I moved the first year of opening that brick and mortar with that overhead, I was drowning. I doubled down on my running. I was exercising a lot more. Not drinking played a huge role of success in my personal life. I'm not here to spew some idea that people should follow. People should live their own lives how they see fit. But there's certain things that are going to slow you down. Recognize what they are. Recognize what works for you, and kind of move, towards those goals. Because like I said, entrepreneurism, it is the hardest road possible, and a lot of people don't become successful entrepreneurs because it is so damn hard. I think Elon Musk had this great quote, whether you like Elon Musk or not, it doesn't matter. He said it's like chewing glass and staring into the abyss, which is like like two ridiculous things. You're chewing something that's like really hurting you, and you're staring into a world you have no idea what's around the next corner. So you need to always like create this atmosphere where you're like thinking glass half full. And a lot of people, when the shit is hitting the fan, you're not gonna think glass half full. You'd be like, wow, this is going under. This is terrible. I don't know if I can get through this. However, if you reinforce these things, like I said, exercise, eat healthy, you know, slow down on partying and things like that, then you will get through anything you want to get through. You know?
Oh, that's awesome, man. And like you said, everyone has their own journey.
Yeah,
So
for
you
sure.
got to do what, works for you.
And one that's I think helpful for you that I also stand by is yoga. Yoga is like and almost like meditation.
Yeah.
You know, because you know how it is in the entrepreneurial world and in just creating something regardless, you can get to a point where you just never are slowing down. You'll be at 11 p.m., you'll be in your bed and you'll be thinking about like, what should I be doing tomorrow? What's my schedule look like? You'll realize you'll just be trapped in your own world, you know, unless you create this healthy environment.
You build your own glass house.
Exactly, you know, and you need to constantly break that glass house and make sure they're living a healthy life. And you have to follow, you know, like almost your own rules and create your own rules that work best for you. So yeah, there's been many times when on the road to building my business where I had to take a month off. I had to just like, because I was starting to just get really sad. I'm like, I can't do this. I don't know if I, and then I would just get back up every time and I would just fight. And then that made it so we're able to get to the stage that we're at now, you know? So it's okay to stop. It's okay to take breaks, even long breaks. It's okay to go for a long vacation to reset. But make sure you get back and continue on your path.
Back on the horse.
Whatever it may be. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
a big thing is also, in my opinion, is being self-critical. A lot of people, this may be tough subject, but you need to criticize yourself. How could I have done that better? How like this thing that didn't work out? Why didn't it work out?
Yeah.
You know, how can I wake up to the idea of critiquing myself more without it being almost toxic in a way? You know,
self-awareness.
Self-awareness, 100%.
Is
Yeah.
key. And meditation, everything that you mentioned, running, all of it.
Yeah.
That's all good stuff.
Just doing stuff that's hard too. Like what people do is their recreation time away from their business, they'll do stuff that won't help them at their business when they get back to it. Meaning if I start my day with like a 5 or 6 mile run outside, it's cold. And I'm not trying to sound David Goggin-ish here, but there's some truth to that. If I start my day and it's tough and it really sucks, the rest of my day, I'm going to coast. I'm going to be like, this meeting that's going south, this client that's going south, this is easy.
And no matter, you're mentally prepared. So that's like an athlete's mindset.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is a business that you almost need to be athletic.
Yeah.
You're going to lose money. You're going to lose friends. You might lose relationships. You need to continue on that path, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
So
practice time is practice time. Game time is game time.
Exactly.
You know,
and what you're doing away from the office is going to impact what you're doing at the office, you know?
Sure. So entrepreneurship, can be, that
it's a lifestyle.
Can be also lonely.
Oh, for sure.
Business, so
very much so.
Artists are also entrepreneurs.
Oh, yeah.
So
they're companies within themselves.
Exactly. They're brands, right?
Yeah.
So, that being said, something that, been noticing more and more is murals.
Yeah.
Going up, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like you're projecting your personal brand onto, becoming like a community brand. You guys tell us a little bit about, murals, what's unique about them, and
I feel like murals kind of were created as a spawn from graffiti. They kind of started from there, and then over time, graffiti took shape to like actual figurative work, and then there became like a financial aspect behind it. You now see companies like before the interview here, you picked me up at Sofitel Hotel. We work with them every summer, and we do a mural for them. And why would a company pay for an image? It's branding, and it's also much more cost effective than a billboard. A billboard, you're paying for a monthly fee that could be really high, and then a lot of people will have seen so many billboards they just tune it out. Or if you're seeing like a live artist putting something up, now it's up, and it's like a painting. It's creating intrigue. It's like heightening guest experience. It's driving traffic. It does all these things that the older industry of billboard advertising maybe cannot do. So and it ties directly in with real estate, where we're not you're not seeing data that supports the idea that art can impact a neighborhood, like murals. People are going to want to move to the area where there's really inspirational murals. They're getting a cup of coffee in the morning, at their local cafe. They're seeing a mural. They're inspired. They want to live in that neighborhood. The cost for that neighborhood is going up. It's more expensive to rent there now because artists have impacted it. So
There's an economic driver.
yeah, exactly. So and this all started from something that was like
Frowned upon.
frowned upon. Yeah, 100%. You'd associate this with kind of poor areas. And it's
trespassing and
exactly.
yeah,
So
no, for sure. So it's funny when you're talking about art pieces that drive economic activity. The what is called in Chicago the Bean.
yeah.
That's not.
I feel like
the
it's
name.
been
It's
under construction.
The Cloud Gate.
Oh, wow.
The Cloud Gate.
Yeah.
People come to Chicago just to see that
Yeah.
and experience experience
Yeah,
that.
art, murals, sculpture. This impacts tourism. Like that's like a major driver. Tax dollars are allocated
Yeah.
to art being in cities to incentivize tourism. I myself just traveled to Madison, Wisconsin, like just a couple months ago to see the work of Federico Uribe in a museum out there. He makes sculptures out of bullets, animals made out of recycled bullets, and I went over there just to see that. It's fairly close to Chicago, just 2 hours away. But people will travel to see good art, no matter like where the location is.
Yeah. No.
And art is also hand in hand with architecture. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you talked about collabs. The Sofitel.
Yeah.
There are other collabs that you're excited about.
Well, Sofitel owns some other hotel, the Encore brand, if I'm saying that right. They own others, so there may be potential there where we work with other hotels. But yeah, we've always kind of strive for collabs.
You've done something with the Thompson Hotel with
Yeah, with
Jenny.
with Jenny.
Yeah.
Jenny kind of introed me into that. That started off as her thing, and then I got involved. So shout out to Jenny. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Jenny's in every room.
Yeah. Jenny's
Or
in every
Jenny's
room.
artwork.
Yeah. Her artwork is in every room at the Thompson.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about prints, right?
Yeah.
So there's different ways to get art, So and we talked about digital.
Yeah. Yep.
Work.
Right.
Prints.
Yeah, so most people in their house today, they'll probably have a print of an artwork, which is literally, reproduction printed out of an original. Usually it'll be like a highly favored original, and they'll do either a small or large edition. Now, depending on the edition, will depend on the value of that work. If it's some huge,
So if it's limited, collection, it could be an investment opportunity.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, and and the edition all depends on the artist's popularity as well, like the market behind the artist. So if it's a big name artist, like a huge name, and the edition is 500, there's still some value in there.
How do you advise artists when it comes to pricing, right?
Uh,
So I've seen some interesting reel recently where there was an art piece that was priced at, I don't know, $86,000. Don't quote me.
Right.
Maybe we'll attach the reel to this interview.
Yeah.
But the price went down significantly. I think it was like $8,000.
Yeah.
Something like that. So what happened? And this is just
Oh yeah, for
asking
sure. Yeah.
for your opinion.
Yeah.
What do you think happened there, and how does that affect an artist?
Yeah, I think what happens sometimes with aggressive dealers, aggressive galleries, markets, they'll really propel the price, but it won't be gradual. I think doing anything fast, and growing a market really fast has the potential for that market to drop fast too. So I think everything needs to be gradual. I think the most worthwhile investments for artists, like you look at like legendary artists who have passed away, like Basquiat, like his market was grown gradually while he was alive, and then he passed away, and then his popularity just skyrocketed, So, but anything that's built very quickly, a market, there's going to be some volatility there. That again is like a pump and dump, So I don't know particularly what happened with the case you're talking about,
Yeah.
but it sounds like that there were some people behind that knew a lot of wealthy people, really like made a proposition, hey, you should where this work is going to go up significantly, you should buy in now. And they did, and then they ran out of buyers, and then maybe there was some desperation, and they still need to sell what's left, so they made it at a steal price.
For sure. So then, what is your advice, to artists in terms of
I think the greatest advice is to build things gradually, and then once you're in a certain realm, try and stick by your prices. If you're selling an original for like 5 to 6K, and you're going through a rough month, don't start like lowering the cost of your originals to 2K or 1,500 for a long-term sale. Maybe you could do a sale for 24 hours, but don't change your market because no one's going to trust you anymore. How can you offset that? Do a print release, do a giant sticker release, do prints on skateboards. Get creative, do different releases that are not going to affect your core market. It would be my greatest advice, because once people start spending thousands and then they see you start like tanking your own market, then they're not going to trust you anymore. They're not going to invest in you anymore, and then that could be it for you.
No.
This is a big game of trust. You're dealing with people's hard-earned
relationship.
Yeah, you're dealing with people's hard-earned money, and you need to respect that.
No, absolutely. So it's interesting. We're a tech show.
But
we're very unique in that sense, where we focus on art, business, culture, and having started a business in what is called the Hood, on the west side of Chicago. A lot of American brands came out of there, and usually those folks are artists,
right?
So whether they be musicians like rappers and so on. But then later on, companies will say, "Oh, come and collaborate with us." So for example, Will.i.am, will join Intel and do something with them. Dr. Dre, he did his Beats by Dre, sold it, to Apple and so on. So there's just so much, talent, in different, neighborhoods, in Chicago. And normally someone might not look at them and say, oh, these kids are technologists, or these kids are IT, savvy.
Right.
But they'll surprise you, and they'll shock you. And then over time, they'll start, producing, art that leads them into boardrooms, and they're sitting with these, tech, companies. So for me, it's like there's more to technology. I see technology as a tool, it amplifies, your craft, your work. It's supposed to make your life, easier, so
it should be used to the advantage. It shouldn't be like frowned upon. It should
be used to advance humankind, and human connections, and but it is a tool, and like any tool, it's a double-edged sword.
There's responsibility that needs to occur with
absolutely.
it.
I mean, like you, when I was building my NGO, I built it on Facebook.
Right.
And I didn't even have a website for the first 2 years, and then down the line, Facebook became a client that we worked with. Right.
Is it called Facebook, or is it Meta now?
Oh yeah, it's called Meta. I'm aging myself.
No, it's okay.
No, it's still Facebook. The product is the parent company.
Does Meta own Facebook, or Facebook owns Meta?
Meta owns Facebook.
Okay.
Instagram, WhatsApp, all of that.
Yeah.
We'll have another session. I don't want to give a whole Facebook, case study. Maybe if they decide to sponsor the podcast.
There you go. Yeah. Sure.
But that being said, man, it's been really great to have you on the show. I mean, we could sit here and talk for another a few hours.
Yeah, I know you really well, so there's just so much I can open up and talk about.
Yeah,
and I know different avenues that excite you and inspire you, and they're parallel to what I'm interested in.
Oh, for sure. There's that. We've always aligned, from a, mission and purpose,
For sure.
standpoint. When people talk about it in business, mission, vision, purpose,
Yeah, yeah,
blah,
yeah.
blah,
Yeah.
blah. As human beings too, like you got to have values, and our values have always been aligned in terms of like empowering, people in the community.
Yeah.
So yeah. That being said, Matt, so how can people find you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can check out our website. It's
Hmm.
artistreplete.com. Replete is REPLETE. And it's artistreplete.com. You can also check us out. We're on Instagram, Artist Replete, Facebook, Artist Replete, LinkedIn, Artist Replete. Yeah, and then if you see this and you want to chat, you can email me at info@artistreplete.com. And our company mantra is some traditions were made to be broken. So I'll leave you with that little tidbit.
That's nice, man.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be doing a collab, soon. So
Yeah, for
people
sure.
just have to, you know,
Stay tuned.
yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, great having you, man. And we're looking to have you in other seasons as well.
Sounds good, man. I look forward to it.